We're going to talk about labels and are they even useful? And we're going to talk about boundaries with world-renowned real world angel, Trisha Dolan. I'm Rebecca Silence. This is the Healing is Possible Hot Seat breakthrough coaching session where every week, same time, same place, I go live with a healer, an influencer, or a brave volunteer ready to move through stuck and into possibility. It's an honor to be here. The hot seat gets hot, gets sticky. Pay attention, follow along, and take whatever healing messages resonate with you today. Leave the rest and let's have fun. And with that being said, Trisha, I welcome you to the hot seat. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Oh, it's a
my
blast
gosh.
to have you in the hot seat. This is a dear
I
friend of
love
mine
it.
for about a decade. Tell us, Trisha, what had you welcoming the opportunity to join me in the hot seat?
Well, I have a lot of history. I am a professional psychic medium for over 30 years. And during this 30 years, I've done workshops, private events. I do a program called Hello Again from the Other Side, where I talk to people and give them messages from their loved ones, their dearly departed loved ones. And that kind of allowed me a platform for all of the people that I saw and heard ever since I was a little girl. So I was basically born with the gift of psychic intuition, and so were you. Everyone is psychic. Yes, you are psychic too. Whether you call it intuition, whether you call it a gut feeling, whether you just got this knowingness, I call them the clairs. And being an empath has a residual effect on the physical body, because I wanted to mention that a clairsentient is someone who has strong feelings, clear feelings. You might get goosebumps all the time. You might have a feeling of pressure, like somebody's in the room. Is somebody in the room? And you look around and there's nobody there, but you feel something. Your senses are heightened. So your taste, your touch, your smell are all heightened. And you get a gut feeling. You get this gnawing in your tummy that says, something's a little off, something's not quite right. But the goosebumps and the tingling are my favorite. And you have that a lot, Rebecca. You are profoundly clairsentient. You are what we call, we'll use that word, and into the new century of calling it an empath, because you're empathetic. You feel the emotions of others. You cry at commercials on TV. If someone's crying, you cry. If someone's really angry, you go, uh-oh, what did I do? You take it on. You physically and emotionally take on the emotions of others. And I want you to know, everybody, empathic is not a curse. You are not cursed. It is not like, oh my gosh, you're oversensitive and you feel too much. I want you to know that it's such a blessing. I've moved into this awareness, and you too can move into your awareness. How many of you go into a room, total strangers, 100 people are in the room, and you go, OMG, am I like crazy here? You feel the love, you feel the hate, you feel the frustration, you feel the chaos. Most empaths are introverts.
So before you say any more, I want to talk about labels, because just personally, I have a hard time with labels becoming self-inflicted glass ceilings. So as we're talking about empaths, at least for me, it's about trying to give us a way to collect this experience we're having and understand it better. And then the label, just like psychic, just like any diagnosis, Trisha and I are both cancer survivors. Any diagnosis, can become a self-inflicted glass ceiling. So while you're saying it's not a curse, I also want us to all consider this isn't a diagnosis either. Now I'm getting goosebumps because it does happen to me all the time, right? But
Confirmation.
I want to talk,
Confirmation.
I want to ask you to speak to, and I want to talk about, what do you mean exactly by this word empath, and how can we kind of get beyond the labels? And I think that also goes both ways. People want the label or they don't want the label. So can you speak to this as you continue with all of this gold and goodness that you're dropping?
Well, I love the question. Um, I do not like labels. I do not like labels. It's in the Matrix, the movie The Matrix. There is no spoon. There is no box. So don't stick yourself in a box with this label. And it's just energy. We are energy. Life is energy. That cup is energy. Everything is energy. So being aware, I say awareness is the heightened ability to say, okay, so I'm feeling something. Is this mine? Is this really what I'm feeling, or does it belong to someone else? And being intuitive, because everyone is, and having a title of a psychic medium. Oh my gosh. I think I've called myself a 50 different things in 30 years. You kind of move with whatever is the go word for the year. But when you put a label on yourself and you define it, it's like having a bumper sticker that says, I am a cancer survivor. I didn't tell anybody I had cancer. I didn't want people to say, oh my gosh. And I'm like, no, I just said, I went in and I had a breast surgery. I have new breasts. I have these beautiful, gorgeous 20-year-old boobs on a 64-year-old woman. And by the way, they got rid of the cancer at the same time. I don't like labels. And so I would never tell people that I had the C word, the cancer word, because labels will stick you into this feeling of not enough, or they disempower. They disempower.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can empower you if you feel it and you own it, and that's part of me. Like, to be able to say I'm a psychic medium for 30 years. Some people go, ooh, yuck, psychic. Ooh, don't talk to her. She knows everything. But it's kind of, I just think it's hilarious. Life is easier and more fun when the messages are clear. And when we are in the flow of the divine energy, in source energy, in God's spirit, everything's perfect. We are back to the birth that we were. We are just wonderful. We were talking about being in a room with strangers and how the sensitive, empathic person, and the temperature changes in the room and the pressure in your head sometimes shifts, but the gauge that you can have, the tool, if you will, is kinetic energy. And you can do the link. I call it the lazy link. We do, like the Batman little thing used to do as kids. But you can hold your finger and you can tug at it. And the link is, go ahead and hold your fingers to where the finger and the thumb are touching. And then you kind of pull at it and you say, my name is Sam. And you pull your fingers away from each other.
This is muscle testing, yes?
Muscle testing, yes. Yeah. And so you say, my name is Sam. Well, that's not true. My name is Trisha, and it's really strong. So as an empath, if you're unaware if it's your stuff, or you have now put this blanket of somebody else's emotions on your shoulder, you can say, is this mine, or does it belong to Susie? And then I say, is this Susie's? And it's real strong. Is this mine? And it's not. So it's a way that you can use your muscle testing almost immediately to say, okay, this isn't my stuff, not my circus, not my monkey, whatever you want to say. And You had another question.
Yeah. So, well, what I was thinking was, and you're reading my mind, of course. So, what I was thinking was, and the experience we're having about the energy we're receiving, whether it's ours or not, is still our work. So, it's a really
Yes.
interesting, delicate dance. That's what you heard me thinking. Well, and then always mine, what I'm doing with the experience I'm having with what is here.
Absolutely. It will remind you, it may trigger you. It may trigger you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Triggers are really kind of fun if you think about them as a fun thing.
I
You know,
love that. I always say lean in.
it's kind
Lean
of like,
in.
oh, I've been triggered. Uh-oh, what is this? What do I need to look at about that? So this person's angry. They're not angry at me. It's nothing. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. This is where your monkey mind gets rolling there. And then you say, okay, that wasn't my, I didn't make them mad, but I don't like them telling me to shush. I don't like to have them tell me, you're too loud, Trisha, you're too this or you're too that. And it's like, so the heck what if I'm loud? That's your problem if you don't like. And it kind of play back and forth on the energy. Again, you do your work and say, now they triggered me by them being triggered. What do I need to know about that? And then you do your work. That's powerful because that's how we heal.
Well, and I think especially with this 911 for empaths and the piece about boundaries, and I know you have so much for
Yes.
us today and for the community, but I personally remember a car ride with you maybe 8 years ago where you were helping me understand, okay, Rebecca, you do have the ability to clear the energy that you are holding space for all day, every day with people. And you just gave me so much to help at the end of the day make sure my energy is clear. And I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. My big time pleasure. I have a few things written down today about protection.
Great.
And what I would like to say, the word protection is it's not the dark side. It's not like, oh my gosh, you got to go into it. Okay. Anyways, protection is a way to be safe because when we are triggered, we don't feel safe. We're in that place of unrest, unbalance, this imbalance in your life, this struggle causes physical harm to your body. When you are totally clear and you're totally in the flow of divine energy, our body is perfect and whole. And we are emotionally perfect and whole. You don't have to have that story about, well, when I was a little kid, this happened, or when I was whatever. You don't have to have those stories hurting you. The protection is an energy field. Like you said, we have a field around us, an etheric field, and some people's etheric field is really shallow and others are quite large. You can't tell it on the screen maybe, but I went to a class and I was doing medical intuitive certification, seeing how I can scan a body and see illness in the body. But she was using dowsing rods, my instructor, and she's got these dowsing rods going and she's walking backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards. And she goes, keeps walking backwards and backwards. She walked out the front door and she goes, oh my gosh, Trisha. My energy field had
That's how
filled
big.
the house and it was out the front door. And the dowsing rods were going, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then when she got to the edge of my field, they went, whoop, there's her field. So we can expand that energy away from us. I call it bubbling up. So if you think about a bubble, it has this form to it, but it's not really solid. It's kind of elastic. Bubbling up is a fun procedure. You just kind of take a deep breath and you expel it. And then you imagine, those big old bubble wand holders that you kind of go like this, and they're like massive and you almost big enough for you to step in. That's what I want you to do visually, people. I want you to create a bubble and be playful, childlike, and you're going to bubble up. You're going to step into a bubble and you're going to create this force field around you. And I like to use pink because it's the heart chakra, it's unconditional love, and it's bubble gum. And think about blowing a big bubble, 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 and putting it around you. And it's kind of elastic, bubble gums kind of thing like that. And so you put the barrier around you. You're only sending out light and love from yourself outward, and they're receiving it. And it helps protect you from absorbing their energy. If they're having, it could be good energy too, but we don't want to consistently, I call it suck and blow. We get energy cords attached to us from people in the grocery store, in our emotional state, in our parents, our family, our loved ones, whatever. And so cutting cords is a really good process too. And we don't have enough time to go through it, but that's another one. And creating a suit of armor. If you think about the knight in shining armor, where they had the shield on their face and they had the gloves and they had the feet covered. So I go, okay, children, because I teach this to kids all the time. All right, we're going to be soldiers. Put your suit on and go, shut your face mask. And it's shiny, so it's reflective. It'll push away the energy and it'll make them feel powerful because they're in a suit of armor energetically. And as soon as you say that to a child, imagination is so beautiful that they go, oh, got it. All right. Nobody's going to hurt me. I'm in a suit of armor. And the other thing is a black stone, a black tourmaline. I put on pedicite today because I thought it was a good example to be wearing while we're doing this interview. But did that help answer your question?
Oh, I think that's so good. And then can you just speak to what's the difference between the bubble, the suit of armor, and shutting down and pushing people away? Because as we're talking about boundaries, we're not talking about building walls.
Right. Very good. Very good. When you have a bubble or you have a protection method, it's shielding you from the absorption of other people's energy and owning it on to yourself. Think of one thing other that's so powerful about an empathic that I think is a blessing is that people love to tell you stories. They love to come up to you, total stranger, come up to you and say, oh, I have 3 grandchildren and I have this and that. And you're just going like this, because empathics are wonderful listeners and they're very good communicators. So that's another superpower. And the thing of it is you have this 7-foot couch up on your shoulder, and the person hops up on the couch and you give this wonderful advice, this sage advice. They hop off the couch energetically. This is all energetic, of course. And they hop off the couch, but they've left all their crap up on the couch. So now you have a 7-foot couch and you have 15 people's stuff up on the couch. And by the end of the day, you are weighted down emotionally, energetically, and it takes a toll on your physical body.
Yeah. And the way I think about it is I want to keep my heart open and yes. I want to keep my energy and alignment strong. And that's what I think of when I think of the word inspired, connected to my spirit. And at least in my experience, Trisha, it is almost impossible to turn off the connection to other people, because that's also all I think we're talking about, right? It is the power of connection, and we heal when we're connected and we grow when we're connected. And then there's a balance that you are just so beautifully speaking to around how to stay connected without shutting down, but also maintain boundaries. And that word boundaries, I'd love for you to, just riff on, because I hear so often people hearing the word boundary in a negative way or in a really righteous way that pushes people away.
Some people who have been damaged emotionally, they just don't feel safe in life, have a tendency to stay stuck in the victim mode. And your program especially has allowed people to look at that in a different way, look at it in a different perspective, like the tarot card hangman. You hang upside down and you look at it from a different viewpoint. That's one of the things that I teach when I'm teaching my courses, because we are energy. We are spiritual creatures having a human experience. We're going to get bumped around. We're going to have activities. We're going to have things happen. Shift happens. That was on purpose. There is an F in there, people. Shift happens. And when the shift happens, then you're back into the awareness. That's the key word, the awareness that I need to do some more work. I need another layer peeled away. But if you're stuck in that victim mode, what happens is the wall builds. As you were saying, we don't want to build a brick wall, but you end up feeling like I have to be defensive all the time. So everything that comes out of your mouth is, well, I woke up not feeling very well, and I have this and I have that. And it's like, sorry?
Yeah. And our emotions, what if, just consider this, what if we're never actually emotionally damaged? We just got heartbroken. Now there's an emotion that we just don't know how to be with. In legacy training, we talk about victim mode as a consciousness. It's never who we are. So if you find yourself feeling stuck, especially in the pandemic, especially, while we're all healing through and surviving through COVID, there's no damage. There's opportunity to be aware of where there's more healing and alignment work to do.
I love it. I love it. That's perfect.
It's not who
That
we
is
are.
absolutely perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
And some people will find that they need to numb
Yes,
themselves
speak to
because
this.
they feel too much. They feel too much. So they numb. You numb with sex. You numb with drugs and alcohol and exercise. And my numbing go-to was food. And so I overate. I ate my emotions. I shoved them down and shoved them down. I was feeling too much. And so I had to comfort me in my physical body. I felt like the emotions were too much to handle. And I was well over 300 pounds, and working on the awareness that I can take off that lead jacket of emotional tags, emotional titles, all that stuff. I'm not broken. I'm whole and perfect. And just shed it off and say that no longer serves me. And I think with the word boundaries, what is it in your life that no longer serves you? What can you release? Maybe it's belongings, maybe it's possessions, maybe you just keep shopping. Shopaholic is also a numbing agency. When I was a little girl, if I was very good, I got candy. Well, I want you to know I was a very, very, very good girl. I got lots of candy. So that was my go-to to make me feel better or to validate me, any of those type of things. And I believe that most empathic people, all of you are healers. All of you know that your body is whole and perfect, and it's just out of alignment, out of balance when you are sick. You're not in a healthy state, and that could be emotionally, it could be mentally, it could be physically. And by creating these protections of not making it worse, but then doing your work within yourself to realign and balance you, your heart is so pure and so beautiful, and you have so much to give the world. All these empathic people, superheroes, superpower, and you're all healers. You're all amazing, amazing people.
Trisha, this is so good. Will you share? I'm trying to remember how you said it to me in the car that day, but it was a brand new concept for me when you were saying something about we do have the ability to turn on and off when we're available for accessing these superpowers, if you will. And I agree with you. I think we all have an inner healer. So can you speak to that a little bit? The possibility around checking in with yourself. Am I even available for this right now?
Good. Very good question. Um, in my development of my psychic ability in a professional status, and the reason I'm using it that way is because I would go to a psychic fair, I would sit at my table, I would have a client, and I would do 10-minute sessions, back to back, back to back, back, back to back, back to back, back to back, back. I had to clear between sessions. I had a quartz crystal on my table, superpower. I had a huge black tourmaline kept there so that I would not be absorbing their energy. When I am in the flow, channeling, I do not know what I've told the person. Only when they retell me the story, I go, really? That's interesting. Like, I don't even remember the conversations in the car. So the way that
Hmm.
we're coming around to some of it, yes. The the on and off switch is what I created in my mind, um, like a light switch. So when the light switches on, I am open and receptive for downloads. I'm open and receptive for spirit to give me information. My guardian angels, my loved ones, whatever. I am open and receptive to get the data dump, what I call it, which is claircognizant, clear knowingness. With you being empathic and having this strong intuition, and you keep it on, you end up, it just kind of, after a while, bullets will hurt. They like take your barrier and they pop it and bubble and holes and all this kind of stuff. So I love the fact that you said, am I available for this? And it just can be a mental switch. You could do a trigger like touch your third eye as your on
Mm.
switch. You could go like this and say, and that's your trigger. Or I call it, like I say, in my mind, I have a switch and I turn it up for on and down for off, just like electricity. And I say, okay, I'm ready. I also have a pattern when I'm doing a reading to open up my tarot deck, and I put 3 cards down for ready, set, go. So you could say those words. You could say, yes, I'm available at this time for this conversation. Ready, set, go.
Oh, that's so
And
good.
if not, your boundary can say, I'm really fascinated by your story today, but I have an appointment I need to take care of. I'm not emotionally available for this conversation. Can we readdress it at a certain time, another time? And I really encourage that with your loved ones, because I don't know how many times my mom would say, Trisha, we need to talk. That sentence still triggers me to this day, because every time she would say that, I'd go, what the heck did I do wrong now? Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. Trisha's in trouble. It still triggers me every now and then. It's hilarious. And then I just laugh now as a kid. I just get into that kid state and go, they got a problem. Okay, we'll worry about it when we're ready to talk about it. Did that answer your question?
Well, I think that's really good. And I think on the flip side, we can all be really conscious of, are other people even available? Like I may have a gut or an intuition. And in my, earlier years as a coach, I felt like, oh, every guidance I get, I have to share. And not true.
Not
And it might
true.
not even be right. So I think
Relevant.
there's also boundaries around with our gifts and our sensitivity and the guidance that we receive. are we paying attention to what we're doing with it? Or are we just emotionally vomiting it all over the place for no reason?
I immediately heard vomit. And then you
Yeah.
said it. It was so funny.
Yeah. Something else to consider. What else, Trisha? What else?
Well, I
People
wanted to mention that it does take practice. It does take a routine. You have to get into, if you're doing professional coaching, you set your appointments, you set your boundaries, you set your, availability mentally, emotionally, whatever. You open up your ears. Remember, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that for listening. And it does take practice. I mean, we might get bumped a little in the beginning, but then you have to remember, oh, yeah, I bubbled up. Oh, okay, bubble up. I used to send my children off to school and I'd say, bubble up, babies, bubble up. And then I would visualize putting a pink bubble around them. And then every once in a while during the day, I would energetically tap into them to see if they needed a new bubble. And fortunately, they weren't bullied. There was a lot of bullying going on, and they were a part of the mix at times, but they highly sensitive children, very, very gifted too. But when you're tapping into source energy, remember that it is a portal. It's a vessel, if you will, and you're tapping into your angelic force. You're tapping into your soul pattern within you. And when you do that, imagine kind of that thing, like a vessel, if you will, and you are the conduit. And remember that light and dark live in the same space. So you must protect yourself when you're opening yourself up to higher consciousness, because everything floods in. And if you're not bubbled up, you might get some misinformation. And the way that you know if it's light or dark is if it tells you to do something horrible or wants you to do harm to someone. That's not light, darling. That's not
including to
light.
yourself. Yeah.
Even to yourself, whether you're self-damaging, you're self-hurting. A lot of times where we're stuck in the victim mode and we're wallowing in the lower vibrational energy, shames and blames, I'm not enough and all that, we're vibrating an energy, the law of attraction's in motion, saying, oh, like begets like, here we go, we got some more. You want more people like that around you? Come on, here they come. And next thing you know, you go, why are all my friends such losers? Why are they so insecure? Why do I have friends like that? And all the coaches, all of the mentors, all the big speakers on get rid of your friends. Well, sometimes we just can't. We just can't. There's a karmic death, there's a connection of some sort, and they may not be the easiest person to be around, but we brought them in for a karmic duty or whatever, and they need healing too.
Well,
And
and
with you,
I was just going to say, and we all have moments where we're in a lower vibration. And when we're aware of other people being in a lower vibration, at least for me, that's an indicator that I'm in a lower vibration.
yes,
And it's
mirror,
never,
mirror on the wall.
right. It's never, at least in my experience, it's never me in terms of like being the cause of anybody else's emotional experience. And it's never other people or a situation or a label or a diagnosis being the cause of mine. And I don't think we're ever really going to be aligned with spirit until we can be with all of it.
Yes, and I wanted to mention that there were some easy ways to do that. Well, they're in my head, they're not in my notes.
Great.
But one of them is to go out into nature, because when you are grounded in the earth, into energy of earth, and you're in nature, you are grounded. And when you're grounded, that's what the black stone is. You're grounded. That means you're in your body, because we have a tendency when we're numbing and all that stuff to, I'm out of here. Energetically, we check out of our physical body, and you cannot help it get well if you're not in it. So getting into nature will help with that grounding process. Or you can do visualization. Meditation is another way for you to get that alignment. And you don't have to sit for 2 hours in meditation. Every time you are in meditation and you get that monkey mind going, oh, and then I got this, I got to go grocery shopping and I need potatoes and I need this and I need that. Then you're like, oh, I'm meditating. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's all right. Just say a word, whatever your intention is. If it's a healing word, say, what do I need to know today? Or bring yourself back into the meditation of whatever your intention is set when you meditate. And then the other thing was, I want you to play. I want you to have fun. I want you to be childlike, because when we are in infancy, when we're children, we don't have all the parameters downloaded to us about, should do this, shouldn't do that, this is right, this is wrong. And then society pushes and pushes and pushes, and teachers and parents, and we all mean well, but it's like, don't do that, you're going to get hurt. we don't want to put that on top of people, especially sensitive people. But we are all light workers, and the energy, you are full of light. If you think about a lighthouse sitting on the edge of a cliff, and it's guiding, sweeping, the water's rough, it's dark, it's rocky, they have to go down the channel, they have to drive their boat just right. But the lighthouse is constantly beaming. It's always there. It's always safety, whether there's a boat in the water or not. Constant safety. So we, as light workers, we as spiritual beings, are stuck in places, or put in places, I don't want to say stuck, put in places where our light needs to shine. We are the vessel to say, you're a good person. You are a wonderful person. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And just knowing that that's from the heart space. Sometimes we don't like our corporate job, or we want the job, and we're like, why do I have to stay here? Remember, you're there for a purpose. You're there to be the light shining bright. So you want to make sure that we shine brightly when we're not held back. And don't hide, shine brightly. It's your way of being.
Well, and I love the idea of considering that boundaries are giving us access to more authenticity, which is our light. So boundaries aren't keeping your light held back. They're allowing you to use that sensitivity, to use your body to help guide you into as much alignment as possible so that you can shine as much as possible.
Absolutely. We're here to learn. We're here to inspire, to teach others. We are a magical being. Humanity is fabulous. Look at the bright side. I did want to say one other thing about the pandemic and people's emotional states and stuff like that, and feeling isolated or confined. Remember that you are your own entertainment. So and if you have this extra sensitivity, realize that it could be humanity's in pain, and we as empaths could be taking on. It's like, what happened today? I'm really out of sorts, and I don't watch the news. I do not recommend empaths to watch the news. I just don't. You can be informed in many ways without watching the doom and gloom constantly bombarding you. Horror movies and things like that can be a little disturbing too. But give yourself respect. And respect is an acronym. So R stands for rest. E stands for encouragement and excitement. S is for space. Go to your room. Go veg out. Go to the park. Give yourself space. So this pandemic has actually been a blessing because now you get to focus on what's important. And a P is prioritize. Prioritize your time, prioritize your energy. We have a full cup and you don't want to deplete it in 5 minutes. So prioritize your day and your time and your energy. And then E stands for education. We're being educated today. We're learning more about how our superpowers are magnificent, magnificent gifts. And that we have 911 is an emergency for empaths. Well, we are the remedy. We are the remedy for the world. And the C stands for clarity, because when you are connected to source energy, the messages are clear. My tagline is life is easier and more fun when the messages are clear.
Yeah.
Because when we're in that clarity space, then we are able to look at things in a different perspective. And then T is time. Give yourself time. Give yourself time. Be good to you. Self-care is critical for everyone, but especially empathic people.
I love that. How can people get a hold of you, Trisha?
Well, I am in Facebook by my first and last name, Trisha Dolan. I also have a group page that's called Real World Angel. And that is a free thing. I'm teaching class presently called Real World Angel Enlightenment, which is a magical mystery tour, as I like to say. It's 90-day program where we deep dive into all of the modalities, all of the tools of psychic development and connecting with source, because in the awareness, in the awakening, because everyone has to be partly awake to be in my class. There's actually an interview that you have to go through. I don't start with the basics of this is energy, this is the thoughts, this is the mind. I'm not that basic. It's already people who have woke up and are fascinated with knowing more about their intuition and developing it, whether they use it professionally or they just use it in their life. I mean, we are using our intuition and we want to use it for a benefit. And like any muscle in the body, the more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Your intuition's the same way. So you get the tools and you exercise it. You do your routines, you do your protections, you do the things, you do your own work to clear all the thoughts and belief systems that are blocking you from being the best version of you. And then it's amazing how synchronicity, how you can talk to your angels and you have an intimate relationship with them. The power that this class is, the transformation is just amazing. My students are just leaps and bounds expanding in their lives, in all areas of their lives. They got new jobs. They have the dream relationship. They have they own their own businesses. It's just amazing the benefits that are coming from that. But that is a course that will be starting up pretty soon. And I today would like to gift everybody Mercury Retrograde Toolkit.
Yeah, I love it.
A lot of people, especially empaths, as we were saying, 911, when Mercury goes retrograde, the planet of communication, it appears to be going backwards. And it appears like everything is stuck and slowed down. Notice the word appears. Well, you can use Mercury retrograde to your advantage as a superpower, like a rocket ship underneath you and launching you, as long as you're aware of the areas that are a possible challenge, a possible blip, if you will, because it's the planet of communication. A lot of people are saying, don't make a contract, don't buy a car, don't buy an electronic device, don't do this. And there's all these don'ts and don'ts and don'ts. Well, I also have do's. I have a do and don't list. And so it'll tell you what you can do. And again, you can blame it on Mercury retrograde if you want to. I mean, oh crud, Mercury's retrograde again. Now what? But you don't have to. you can reassess, you can refinance, you can reestablish. I do rescheduling. I fly Mercury retrograde all the time. It's hilarious because the planes are late, or I miss a connection with a train, or the car doesn't have the right device in it or whatever. And I just laugh. I go, okay, what's the worst case scenario? I traveled to France to dog sit in the south of France. Tough job, but somebody's got to do it. I babysat a dog for 2 weeks. And my fear was, I don't know Paris. I don't speak French. I am going to be lost. What? And if you put that in your mind, you're going to get lost. You're going to get lost. You're going to get lost. Guess what? You do get lost. So I said, worst case scenario. I'm lost in France. I missed my train connection after the plane was delayed. I landed in Paris, and I had to find an Airbnb and be in Paris overnight. And I found it a block from the Eiffel Tower. And I got my room and looked out the window, and the Eiffel Tower was having its magical light show. It only has it for 3 hours on the hour, and it was the last hour on the hour, and there was the light show.
And this is my favorite part about the work with you, Trisha. It is about getting playful again. And it is about getting connected regardless of circumstances to who you are, to your spirit, to your gifts. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And thank you guys for listening. This is magical. Remember, you too can make a difference in your life, and you can have a magical life like I do.
Absolutely. And we all do. Miracles are available. See everyone again next week for the Healing is Possible hot seat.